county jail. The prison band was there, they began to wail. The band was jumping and the joint began to swing. You should have heard the knocked out jailbird sing that.
Elvis and his stillborn twin Jessie were born on January 8, 1935 to Vernon and Gladys Presley. Poor in money but rich in musical culture, Elvis drew inspiration from the blues, gospel, and country music that surrounded him from an early age. When Elvis was 13, his family moved to Memphis, where he found friendship and musical influence among the large black community, providing him with his unique sound. Elvis was rejected several times in his attempts to pursue a musical career, and was often ostracized in high school for his exotic personality and clothing. Although he was a social outcast, his potential was realized by Sam Phillips, the head of Sun Records, who said, "If I could find a white man who had the Negro sound and the Negro feel, I could make $1 billion." Elvis's voice was unconventional, and he even once said that, "I don't sound like nobody." This was the start of his groundbreaking career. Elvis provided the foundation upon which teenagers created their own collective identity, the counterculture. The counterculture of the World War II baby boom refers to the cultural and social movement that emerged in the United States and England between 1954 and 1974, with its height between 1965 and 1972. The counterculture began with the teenage generation asserting its independence from parents. They engaged in activities considered risque and dressed in inappropriate attire. But most noticeably, they began to listen to an aggressive, dangerous new style of music, rock and roll. The traditional generation viewed rock and roll as a trend, feeding the counterculture and the subsequent misbehavior of their children. The king brought rock and roll to the mainstream and to your everyday average American teenager. Elvis Presley didn't create rock and roll. He drew inspiration from the black artists that preceded him.
Well, that's all right, Mama. That's all right with you. That's all right, Mama. Just any way you do it, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Mama. Any way.
The term itself was coined by Cleveland disc jockey Alan Freed in the early 1950s in reference to the black R&B records he was playing on his station. But through his charismatic performances and attractive appearance, Elvis brought the style to the attention of a massively untapped teenage market that made his music a generational anthem.
It meant, young people finally had a voice in the culture, finally had an outlet, an expression, and once they had it, they never let go of it.
Rock and roll filled a void in the culture by bringing teenage desires to the forefront of the country's attention. Elvis represented, to many, the breaking of cultural norms with drugs, sex, and rock and roll. According to the March 1957 edition of Life magazine, over 1,000 girls in Grand Rapids, Michigan, cut their hair to look like Elvis's in less than 6 weeks. Traditional gender stereotypes were reversed as teenage girls took on a more masculine appearance, while boys mimicked Elvis's longer ducktail haircut and sideburns, causing parents to worry about Elvis's apparent threat to their children's sexual orientations, a threat intensified by Elvis's friendliness with openly gay musician Liberace. The flamboyant outfits, black mascara, and eyeshadow that Elvis consistently wore lent his typically masculine image a vague air of femininity. His affinity for pink was extremely unusual in the 1950s, when it was a color worn solely by girls. Another complaint expressed by the older generation was Elvis's overt sexiness, though he denied that it was conscious.
Your style of gyrating while you sing has been bitterly criticized.
I don't feel that I'm doing anything wrong.
Regardless of his intentions, Elvis was a major sex symbol in a time where sex had no place in mainstream life. His dancing emphasized the power of sexual expression, and his freedom with affection seemed to encourage teenage promiscuity, but when accused of tainting the values of the younger generation, he would say, "I don't think I'm bad for people. If I did think I was bad for people, I would go back to driving a truck, and I really mean this."
Baby, if I made you mad for something I might have said, please don't forget my past.
In order to combat the loose morals that Elvis appeared to be promoting, adults attempted to use censorship to minimize Elvis's influence on their children. Some, like The Ed Sullivan Show, only shot Elvis from the waist up.
actually think it made the audience more interested in what was going on below the frame of the shot than what was going on above.
However, many shows allowed Elvis the freedom to move as he pleased because his unconventional actions were captivating. In the end, censorship proved ineffective against the prominence of Elvis's public presence.
I think they failed because the impact of it was just too great.
Elvis not only broke down sexual stereotypes, but also racial barriers. A time of tense relations between people of different races, the 1950s witnessed the African American struggle for civil rights. In 1954, the monumental case of Brown v. Board of Education overturned the decision of the 1896 case of Plessy v. Ferguson by ruling that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. This set the groundwork for the rest of the civil rights movement. The king of rock and roll played a major part in integration by singing black music to white audiences.
Elvis and the explosion of rock and roll music in 1956 kind of transcended all of those boundaries.
This earned him the nickname Hillbilly Cat. The slang term hillbilly alluded to his country background, while cat referred to the white kids who listened to black music. As Elvis popularized black music styles, people could suddenly find records by black artists in stores that had once banned them. Rebellious teenagers who listened to this new music greatly concerned parents, mainly because of the fear that white kids would dance with and eventually date black kids. Elvis was a threat to traditional beliefs, and the fears of parents would soon be realized as the world began to change. In addition to bringing people of different races together, Elvis openly advocated for civil rights. The death of Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968 dealt a particularly hard blow to Elvis, who reportedly cried when he heard the news. The song, If I Can Dream, was written by Walter Earl Brown to mourn King's passing, and when Elvis heard it and recorded it, he proclaimed, "I'm never going to sing another song I don't believe in. I'm never going to make another picture I don't believe in."
If I can dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand, tell me why, why can't my dream come true?
25 years, Elvis recorded over 750 songs and starred in 33 feature films. His short stint in the military provided the only break during his professional career. Elvis continues to have an impact in today's culture. As the first major superstar, he lit up the path for today's celebrities and their throngs of screaming fans. Elvis didn't disappear with his death in 1977. To the contrary, he's still one of the most popular and well-recognized artists and maintains a number 2 ranking on the Forbes list of top-earning dead celebrities. He continues to make an estimated $55 million yearly, and his home, Graceland, still attracts attention as one of the most visited sites in the United States, with over 600,000 visitors per year. And in the most literal sense, Elvis lives on through the 85,000 international men and women that impersonate him today.
In terms of popular culture, I don't think there's much that happened in the last century that rivals Elvis and the impact that he had.
The king of rock and roll fully transformed music and mainstream culture. With his long-term impact on America and the world, it's evident that Elvis never truly left the building.
You have made my life complete, and I love you so. Love me tender, love